Hey everybody, happy Monday morning. Coffee, 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 coffee. As you can see, using the minimalistic plain white mug today. Now, I have a pretty special topic for you today. Now, recently I made a video where I discussed how and why I personally, don't necessarily talk to native speakers or tutors or teachers and so on very much when I'm developing a sort of basic level of fluency in a foreign language, right? And so I've made a couple videos now on this, and the response has been truly astounding. Not only has it triggered an enormous amount of growth on my channel, which is wonderful, but it's also triggered an enormous amount of communication with people writing in via the comments or personal direct messages on various platforms, just telling me how empowering and inspiring this idea is that they are perfectly capable as perhaps introverted people of developing this basic level of spoken fluency without having to go and talk to people. And I've just had so many different forms of this communication. Lots of people who have felt for a long time like they were perhaps disadvantaged in this community and in the endeavor of learning a foreign language, just because so much of the messaging, so much of the, the methods and the programs and everything that people talk about, they rely on, talking to other people and doing things that maybe introverted people are just not so comfortable doing, especially at a level of learning a language when you are not even really able to express yourself or converse with other people. Now, on the flip side, I have also had a number of comments and messages of people saying that extroverted people are just better at this. And so, first of all, I want to say that I completely disagree with the notion that introverted people are just worse language learners. And I want to tell you a bit about myself and dive a bit deeper into some of my own experiences, and why, honestly, I think introverted people can be just as effective learners of languages. And I don't want anyone to feel like they can't do this because of that quality about themselves. So some of you might be surprised to hear this, but I'm actually quite introverted myself. I think I grew up slightly more extroverted. I felt like I was more outgoing as a child, but as I got older, I really started to become a lot more introverted, and especially over the last 10 years of my life, frankly, I've spent a pretty enormous amount of that time by myself. And don't worry, it's not a sad video. This, if anything, is hopefully a very positive and excited video, because I want to share this with you. Most of why I've spent so much time alone, a lot of that has been, learning and, studying and building things such as Journaly, right? Which is a massive software project. And when I started it, I didn't know how to build software. Now I do, right? And that has taken years of just dedicating basically all my time to learning, programming, and a whole series of subjects around that, and also data science and various things, right? And then of course, trying to do YouTube, trying to write books, do these languages. I've been spending a lot of time working on projects that I really believe will hopefully help a lot of people in the world who are trying to learn languages. And I also do believe they'll help me create a better life for myself, where I can go back to finally really spending a lot more time learning languages myself. And so during that time, I have become more and more introverted. And there's a funny story I have for you that I've never told on this channel before. So a few years ago, I was actually in Lyon, France with Luca Lampariello and one of his clients. And we were there together spending several days. We also made some videos in French, which are on this channel actually. I'll leave a link to that sort of series in the description. But there was one evening where Luca really wanted to go to a language meetup, right? And I remember as soon as the idea was proposed, I was like, oh God, people, strangers. I just was like, I was very nervous about going to this meetup. And the funny thing is, we went, the three of us, so again, Luca, myself, and Luca's client. And Luca, he was just the star of the show. He lit up, He was excited. He was talking to everybody. I remember seeing him just like going from person to person. He was like the center of attention. And I sat on like the edge of the circle with Luca's client, and we basically talked to each other for most of the evening. Now, eventually, somebody came over and we were speaking in French. I think there were a couple of different people. One of them happened to be from Brazil, and so we actually kind of broke off and we ended up speaking Brazilian Portuguese. And he was really surprised that I could speak with him in Portuguese. So by the end of the evening, I did have a couple of conversations, and it was a really good experience, but it was also a very difficult experience for me. And, it was clear that there was a big difference between Luca and myself in terms of just how comfortable we are throwing ourselves into a group of strangers and just sort of talking. And I think I get particularly shy and anxious when I might be the center of attention. And I remember, living in Lisbon, Portugal, and really struggling to make friends, and how people would say, look, just, go to the club, go to the bar, go to these things. And at the time, I don't know, I was somewhat uncomfortable with just throwing myself in front of people. And I don't know, it's just not such a natural thing for me. Now, I will say that I can be incredibly warm and open. As you've seen on this channel, I have an enormous amount of very positive energy that I love to share with people. It's just that I require a particular set of circumstances to really open up in that way and to feel comfortable doing so. And so, as I explained in the previous videos, when I'm learning a language, I just feel a lot more comfortable and perfectly happy doing that largely by myself. And if I have opportunities to talk with others, if I happen to have friends who, are speakers of that language, I'll more than happily embrace those opportunities. But usually the way it happens is I end up mostly developing that basic level of fluency by myself. And I have known other people who learn the same way. I remember meeting Dr. Alexander Arguelles in Serbia during the Polyglot Conference back in 2014. Now, I don't know exactly how Dr. Arguelles identifies himself in this regard, but he certainly strikes me as someone that is more introverted than extroverted. And, he's one of the greatest language learners that we have. And he's a phenomenal human being, a phenomenal polyglot. And I remember watching him, navigating the rich and diverse language environment at the conference and talking to so many people in so many languages. And I remember that him and I spoke at the end of one of the, days of the event, and he just looked exhausted. He looked so tired, and I felt the same way. But again, it doesn't mean it wasn't a wonderful experience. It was fantastic. I won't speak for Dr. Arguelles. I just can speak about the conversations that we had on that day. But again, it's, there are some wonderful learners out there who can learn just as effectively as anybody else. And we don't all necessarily do that by, speaking to people from day one and speaking often. It's just, there's so many ways to go about learning a language, and as I've discussed in those previous videos, which I'll link in the description of this one, there are some really wonderful ways that you can do that without relying on talking to people, so that you can develop some, surprisingly good speaking skills to where you can really express yourself. Yes, with mistakes, no, not perfectly, but you can become comfortable expressing yourself. And then you can go out and really start to seek those opportunities to talk to people. And that's the part that is really magical for me. So, I know I haven't really talked about the specifics in this video because I've done that now in a few different videos, all of which I'll link below. But I just really wanted to address this idea that it seems a lot of people out there really do feel like perhaps they either can't do this, or it's gonna take them longer, or they're not gonna be as good at learning languages because they are introverted people, and because they don't necessarily enjoy just going out there and talking to people, especially from day 1 or day 20, or maybe even day 90 right? Certainly for myself, I have been learning Mandarin Chinese for quite some time now. I've been documenting the whole process on this channel. It has been taking me longer than usual because I've been so busy, and we've talked about that a lot on this channel. But even now, I've basically had one proper conversation in Mandarin Chinese, which I also documented on this channel. I've basically had one conversation with another person in Chinese. I've had a few interactions at my local Taiwanese bento shop, but those are very short, and that's about it. Everything else, I'm developing that basic fluency largely independently, but I know that at a certain point, I'm gonna have so many opportunities to speak in Mandarin Chinese, and it's gonna be wonderful. Yeah, I like getting to that place first, you know, and then I will be a lot more spontaneous. And you know, next year, I'm really hoping to change a lot of things in my life. I really do want to push myself to have a better balance of social activity in my life. I want to have more, you know, close friendships. There's a lot of things I want to change next year, and I think that all the hard work and all these projects I've been building, including this YouTube channel, I really feel like everything's finally coming together, and it's gonna get me to that place that I've been dreaming about, where I can, you know, make learning languages a much bigger part of my life again. And that will also include going out and speaking and having those experiences that I dream about when I'm learning a language. But I still think when it comes to being a beginner in a language and learning and getting up to a basic level of fluency, I'll probably always be most comfortable doing it the way that I always have. Okay, everybody, I really hope you like that. And if you're an introverted person, I really hope that you feel empowered to do this. I believe in you, seriously. And if any of you are having any doubts, if you have any concerns about this, please leave me a comment. I'll try my very best to answer them. I don't want anyone to feel alone in this, and I don't want anyone to feel like you can't do it. Happy Monday, have a wonderful week, and I'll see you back here on Wednesday for another video.